Long-time Wellington-based fisherman Tony Mulo has teamed up with some research scientists at Niwa. Together they're learning about the potential of the king crab fishery and for setting the total allowable commercial catch, or TACC, for the species in New Zealand.
I first started fishing with my father 30 odd years ago. We were orange roughy fishing and we'd catch the odd king crab. And it wasn't until a few years ago that we sort of realised maybe what the value of these things were and that they were crawling around there in certain places. That was like the start of a curiosity for these things. And yeah, it sort of progressed from there. We did a taste test, well, we've done a few taste tests with them, and they're way, way ahead of crayfish. You know, I actually prefer them. They've got a much sweeter and smoother flavour. So yeah, maybe in years to come they might rival the lobster.
Male. 196.
We've teamed up with Niwa. It's been a learning curve for both of us, really, because nothing's known about this New Zealand variety. We're starting from scratch. We've tried a few innovative measures, and the camera pot is one of the biggest ones. What we're hoping for out of the research is to get a bit of an idea of the life cycle of these crabs and the biomass so that we can set a TAC that is sustainable.
What happened with the species, Lithodes aotearoa, when it was introduced into the quota management system, the quota, that's the amount you can take commercially, was set quite low. It was set at 10 tonnes for each area. And the areas are quite large. This area goes from East Cape right round past Wellington. So it was set quite low, and the idea was that if people fishing it thought that you could sustainably catch more, then it was up to them to prove it. We have quite a lot of funding from Seafood Innovations Limited to do a lot of the camera work, the tagging work and the movement work, and later on there'll be some work under that program done on developing protocols for live export, which will be a series of experiments. Tony Mulo's critical to the program, obviously. If we don't get the camera set, we don't get any data. If Tony doesn't record the lengths and weights of a certain proportion of the catch, we don't have any data either, so we work pretty closely with Tony. This is the New Zealand king crab, Lithodes aotearoa. It's an anamuran crab, so it's not a true crab. It's more related to hermit crabs. I guess their size distinguishes them as well. This is a very small one, but these things can grow to about 1.3 metres across, you know, in leg span. So they're pretty big. They mainly live quite deep, which is likely to be a temperature-related thing. You know, at 1,000 metres out here, the temperature's between about 5.9 and 6.1 degrees. In Alaska, they're much shallower. That'll be a temperature thing. They're very difficult to age, but overseas king crab species, people think they live somewhere between 17 and 21 years. So it's likely that these things are the same. We're gathering information partly through the catch sampling program, where crabs are measured and they're tagged on board, but at the processing plant, 10% of the crabs in all pots are measured and weighed and sexed, and they're checked for parasites as well, and that's all recorded, and we look at that. But we've also developed the pot camera system, and we've got 3 GoPro cameras in each pot and housings that keep them dry at 1,000 metres, which was a bit of a challenge. The first time we put the pot out, we drowned 2 of them, but we think we've got it right now. These cameras are turned on with a magnet which repels a switch inside, and that pushes the shutter button so that you don't have to open it. And when they're turned on, the camera sleeps for 10 minutes. It'll come on for 20 minutes and record, and that's so we get the cameras, or the pot and all cameras, recording through the water column when it descends down, and we get the footage when it lands on the seafloor. And after that, it turns on for a minute every hour for 48 hours. And that's so we can try and work out the length of time over which crabs are attracted to the pot. And if we can do that, and we know a few other things, like the walking speed of the crabs, we might be able to work out the effective fishing radius of the pots. In some overseas species, if you get a big male in a pot, the little males and females won't go in there because they'll probably get beaten up. So we need to see if that sort of thing is occurring, and if we can quantify that and learn something about the bait plume, how it disperses, we might be able to relate, well, it would be good to be able to relate what we catch in the pots to what's actually there. And at the moment, you only know what you catch, but you really want to know what's there.
What we're aiming for is obviously an export market at some stage, but we've got to overcome a lot of hurdles before then, basically, to get these crabs out of the water and to the end market. It's not only just catching it, it's actually working out how to keep these crabs alive to get to the end user. Really, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at an export market. At the moment, it's probably just a local market, just to build a sustainable base, but every fisherman's dream is to sort of get it to that real end user and get top quality and top prices for them.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.